up the path. When she realized he was already in front of her, she didn't even try to run. Oh, you left without saying goodbye. Again. He said, please. I'm enjoying this a little too much. She said, shaken. Oh, spare us the chit-chat, would you? Said Lapino as he shackled her hands so she couldn't throw spells. She knows all his plans. All the way back to the Farfarer, Lapino nagged Renato about how the interrogators would pry all the intel out of Zenobia. How that would turn the tides in the imminent battle. All they had to do was take her to the rebels' secret base. Renato didn't like to think about what the interrogators would do to her. Couldn't he just talk to her?
É o que eu escolhi e foi esse aqui.
As they pulled away from the Nexus, Renato could see the fear in Zenobia's eyes. I can't take her to those creatures at the base, he whispered to Lapino. Ah, you've gone soft. Soft in the head. We captured her for what she knows. I'll take her to the mountains. Tell all the horrible things the Emperor's done. Yeah, believe me. She'll turn. And he turned the wheel. The hell you will! Shouted Lapino, and he grabbed the wheel back from him. The two of them wrestled for control of the ship. It shot off like a mad sparrow. Suddenly, Renato was falling. When he came to, Zenobia was standing over him. Why didn't you take me to the base to be interrogated? She demanded. Do you know what's left of people they interrogate? This is some trick, isn't it? To make me fall for you again. Well, I won't. Oh, go on then. Scurry back to your ravens. I can't stop you. But strangely, she didn't. As Renato set off to find the Farfarer, she followed him, keeping just out of sight of the ravens. Renato wondered idly if people who had built these poles had really long tentacles. Imagine if you built a house of one of these things. Oh, that would be amazing. It would be like having a boat. As Renato stopped to sniff the wind, Zenobia came up, still mad. Did you really think you'd just talk me into betraying my father? Oh yeah, sure, that was exactly my plan. Then why aren't you even talking to me? Because I've never talked you into anything in my life. They're gonna court-martial you for letting me go. He caught a whiff of the Farfarer. Wet rope, tar, and a cask of Scoble ale he'd spilt last year. It was that way. Didn't I just kill your brother? in an elevator? Or a giant eagle?
Falta essência do vento.
Something.
Não quer agarrar pro tesouro, não é possível, não. Eu caí em algum lugar que eu já fui. Claro que consegui. Já conheço já. Já fui nesse lugar. Não lembro pra o quê, mas já fui. Eu não tinha essa espada na vez que eu vim aqui. Foi na outra verdade.
What's there?
Não, Forever da ali. Eu já vim aqui também. Cara, assim, eu se lembro da expedição que eu ia fazer sobre as ilhas. A mim sou bom para já ver para além das perdas, mas o conhecimento que os sobreviventes adquiriram é muito valioso. O que eles experienciam é incrível, o ar cada vez mais denso e mais turbulento, até se tornar um temporal implacável e sufocante, mas as ilhas continuam se alojando por milhas abaixo da superfície, elas têm raízes que se radiam para baixo, bem além do alcance da vista. As ilhas estão vivas. Essa é a prova de que estava procurando o ar com escravidão para transmitir a flutuar. Nessa fundeza aí encontra seu sustento. Será que eles têm consciência? Será que elas estão sendo já sustentos? Ou será que nós somos meras parasitas que elas ignoram ou toleram? Preciso preparar outra expedição. Desta vez irei eu mesmo. Preciso ver se meu maravilhoso seus tão profundos. Espero que você me visite e eu já parti. Gostaria que você me faça um pouco mais sobre esse seu novo amigo reinar. Calma, pai. Beleza.
As for the gate, well, you could take her or leave her. Sorry, it's best to do. Who are these guys? They seem to make everyone else harder to kill. didn't hear his enemy done so. The rock felt hot in his hand. He could feel its secret power. Sure enough, the Farfarer had crashed in some rocks. There was no sign of Lupino. Zenobia caught up. All that kid stuff in Swordfu School. Look, look, that's the past. We're adults now. We have duties to other people. We have destinies. What are you talking about? And you are the most arrogant, slow-witted, light-fingered, mercenary, moral, reckless. Run away with me, said Renato, and he realized he meant it. Just like that, she demanded. I will, if you will. So, she kissed him.
Oh,
and it was the best kiss he'd ever had. They held hands as they boarded the Farfarer. Renato felt light-hearted, like the winds that were playing the rigging like a balalaika. Lupino. I need to get back to Lupino, he said, suddenly realizing he could have been captured. A prisoner. He's not. How'd you know? He saw something in her eyes he didn't understand. He fell, didn't he? Into the abyss. She looked away. Wouldn't answer. But then a bolt smashed through the Farfarer's keel. The broken ship plummeted out of the clouds.
Gay. Beleza, de boa. Como se não bastasse, já fiz essa fase também, não. Tipo essa.
Renato picked himself off the deck. They were alive. We have to get to my private ship, she said. Do you trust me? I guess I must, he said. You go on ahead. Clear the path, he said. I can't kill my own soldiers. He wanted to say that he didn't trust her, that he had no idea what he was getting into. But he had no choice, did he? He was following his heart. That's what it means to be a hero. You had to follow your heart.
Disse aumentar a chance em saque raro em 1%. Mano, na moral, 1%? Não. Vai. Eu tô quase fazendo graça.
Fire? Yes, please.
Isso aqui eu faço também. Nossa. Tá, eu preciso aqui. Minério. 69 minérios. Tem um. Falta assassinado. Deixa eu resetar o aço, né? Não, uma coisa aqui. É parecido com isso. Luta. 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 Nenhuma luta.
Renato felt like he was ready to learn new things. Thank goodness he didn't have to go to school for that.
Ah. Com 63.
What else could you hook? Feeling a bit peckish.
Ah, eu já fiz solução. Mas não pegar a verdade. Ah, é a missão final pra encontrar o cara do lá. Que é do universo. De novo. Aqui já tá lá pra baixo. Era pra eu ter ido pro outro lado. Meu amigo. Ah não, perdi. Agora já era.
There were stickers all over the platform for really hot lady foxes, with pictures and addresses and everything.
Não. Ah, não tem nada.
They paused to catch their breath.
Porra! Eu quero baú!
To be so close to her. What are you thinking? He asked. I'm trying very hard not to think. Me too, he said. Up ahead, he could see the thin silver of Zenobia's personal ship. It looked fast. They would leave all this behind.
Tá, pera. Porra, tá acontecendo, cara, louco.
Bernardo was making himself dizzy. Fun.
Oba.
As they reached her ship, Renato suddenly felt a sharp pain in his stomach. He was surprised to see a crossbow bolt sticking out of it.
I was gonna lead the Empire to our secret base, said Lapino. But no, you had to screw up my plan because you still got a thing for her.
Renato stared at Zenobia. The kiss. Was it real? She said, with a look of indescribable sorrow. She gestured and said an arcane word, and Lapino went flying into the abyss, screaming, "I'm telling your father!" Then she knelt down to cradle his head, and her paws felt very soft and warm. Renato stared at the book. He was still alive. Again. And still only flying away from burning Ubar. Had he lived that adventure? Or only dreamt it? Had he really died? It felt so real, not like a dream at all. And he'd lost again. Oh, he hated that. But he had made different choices. And he'd lost in a different way. It was the book, wasn't it? Oracles showed you your destiny. But this was showing him different ways he could die miserably. Thanks a bunch, book, he thought. But these were destinies that he did not have to fulfill. But he'd learn another true thing. Lapino was a traitor. Renato had suspected there was something wrong with the Mad Rabbit. But now he knew there was malice behind his goofiness.
Beleza.
But that meant there must be a destiny where he survived and won, right? Otherwise, what was the point? And with that, the book's pages fluttered back once more to the beginning, and the clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced.
Isso vai ser longo.
Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Emperor had brought the Sky Ripper pieces up out of ancient burial by his obscene rituals. Could this be where the Iblis stone was hidden? Someone better get it before he does, thought Renato. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing.
No.
Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens? The island was windswept desert. No one went there except ostriches and ostrich hunters. The Iblis stone. It sounded ominous. It sounded powerful. If the Emperor was searching for it, it must be dangerous. And so, Renato went ostrich hunting. Every child could sing verses about the Sky Ripper, but ancient codices held hints of other things. A stone that ate souls, a ruby that drank blood, a jewel only a righteous man could give away. Were all these things the Iblis stone? Long hidden in a buried temple? Another ancient item that was only resurfacing now? Drawn up from the deeps by the Emperor's horrific rituals? Who leaves these chests everywhere? Wondered Renato. I should send him a thank you note.
é isso. Era 43 essa aqui. Eram 3 números. Muita coisa pra falar. Não tá aqui, eu já esqueci. Cara, eu tô pensando antes. Essa nem isso. Ah, não. Não, mas... Alguma coisa?
The air here tasted bitter. The steps were too tall for a person. The entire place felt restless, like it had been vexed to nightmare under the dust, waiting for its hour to come around at last. The ravens were already here, cawing in frustration. They were still searching for a way in. Good. Then he hadn't come too late. He was more and more extraordinary.
Meu Deus.
Arnaldo had learned so much. It was time to turn it into something he could use.
caminho pra continuar pra aqui. Eu vou pra aqui, eu vou pra aqui.
Had that door been opened before?
Contra a pedra. Beleza. Tá. Você foi escolhido para essa missão crítica graças à sua capacidade de seguir ordens eletrônicas sem questioná-las. Não acredite nos opositores. A sua pontuação no teste de inteligência é apenas uma prova de que não há mais ninguém vocacionado do que você para seguir as ordens. Orgulhe-se em saber que fui eu mesmo, seu imperador, que escolhi você para essa missão. Siga as instruções da letra. Viaje sempre aos pares, não repare nas gravuras da parede, não perca a caixa hermética, não quando encontrar a pedra, coloque imediatamente na caixa e feche. Se seu último voz na sua cabeça, ignore-a, lembre-se do o templo está assombrado. Obviamente transcende o templo antigo dedicado a um deus malvado antigo, havia sacrifício de sangue, é óbvio que estaria assombrado. Ignore a voz na sua cabeça. Lembre-se, os fantasmas não podem machucar você, mas eles tentarão confundir você. Quando escutar uma voz, tome o soporífero. Se você encontrar outro soldado com a pedra e ela não estiver na caixa hermética, pulverize-o imediatamente com o gás soporífero. Encontre a pedra, coloque na caixa, feche a caixa e, mais importante do que tudo, encontre a pedra. Que? Tá.
Of all the artisans he was creating employment for.
Tá.
Truly, he was a job creator.
Isso vai ser importante. Se eu não tivesse, provavelmente eu ia me ferrar. Mas muito provavelmente eu ia me ferrar demais. Se eu não tivesse as informações, provavelmente eu ia me ferrar muito. Eu queria saber o que fazer.
Hey, is there a word for a lot of ravens? Like a two-fifths of ravens?
Ah, eu tomei dano. Não. Esqueci que essa porra me dá dano também, velho. Ah. Não tomou dano.
Hey. Hey. I'm a firefox, thought Renato.
Não. Não era isso. Foi. Caralho. Pra que mais?
No, beat Renato at hot potato.
Nossa. Joga ele pra lá. Tem. Toma. Tem. Firefox.
He'd once met a pirate captain who used hooks to get around his ship. What was his name again?
Mano, chance crítica nível 3, velho. Nossa, não topei essa parada. Mano, não tem como trocar, né? Boa. trocar de posição, só pra deixar bonitinho. Boa. Caralho, faltam 31 minutos. Beleza.
How could a temple to Iblis still even exist? The Transcendent Emperor had destroyed all the shrines of the lost gods after exiling them. Had it been buried in that long-ago battle? Or had Iblis foreseen his fate and hidden it from his enemy? Renata felt restless. Maybe he could focus all that energy into something
Não tá
useful.
dando. Ganchamento. Ah, é melhor. Tudo bom. Isso aqui tá levando pra onde? Eu entrei por aqui ou não? Não, entrei por aqui, não. Ah, eu entrei por aqui. Oh, velho, eu não tenho essa porra de espada. É isso, velho, mas vai liberar tanta coisa.
Can I borrow that?
Caralho. Aí sim. Saura. Ai.
The Ravens at least could not get past this point. Obviously, the temple builders knew how to deal with tomb raiders.
Ok, 11 pontos de habilidade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Take a leap of faith, said the inscription.
Mas não é pra ligar pro salto de fé. Não é pra ligar o que as inscrições dizem, né? Que negócio que é lá. Inimigos, não? Ai, a pedra. Tá.
It was a stone of the purest blackness. It reflected no light, like a void made solid. Nervous, he picked it up. Who said that? It was the stone. Eager, thirsty.
Não.
That seemed tempting and terribly wrong. Zenobia was the Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch.
Pera,
But they
posso
had been
matar
close
ela?
once. And Renato wasn't sure he really wanted to be Emperor. Why not capture the core of Sky Ripper instead? It was the eye of a lost god torn out by the transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. "What's the core?" said the stone anxiously.
Não é para escutar as vozes na cabeça, então...
The stone bothered him. He hated being told what to do. Wasn't that why he joined the rebellion? Wasn't that why he'd refused to be a soldier? He'd agreed to come on board only if he could freelance. The stone felt a bit clingy. The sage Calaveras had told him where to find the Sky Ripper, a weapon capable of challenging the gods. Even without its armature, the core would still possess great power. He would go there.
Acho que se passa que é a verdade que eu acerto, não?
The moment he landed the Farfarer, Renato had a rare feeling of regret. It's not too late, he thought. He could turn around and sail for Zenobia's island. He frowned. Wait a minute. He didn't want to kill Zenobia, did he? Sure, technically she was the enemy, but they'd been at Sword Food School together. They'd never been lovers, but somehow they'd been closer. She'd told him every secret about herself. Except the biggest one. That she was the Emperor's daughter. No. Kill Zenobia, whispered the stone. Before it's too late.
Não, mas não precisa matar ela. Já vi na verdade, foda-se. Vamos seu cu. Pedra chata do caralho. E meu fone tá estranho. Espera aí, deixa eu ajeitar o negócio aqui. Cara Zenobia, o diretor da academia me disse que quando estava impressionado com seu desempenho acadêmico na liderança. Duvido que tenha sido uma sessão de lambe-botas, já vi muitas dessas. Aquele velho sapo é sincero, estou orgulhoso de você, minha filha. Se tornará uma bela imperatriz. Por aqui, ótimas notícias. O professor Calaveras tem estudado o Nexus e fez uma observação importante. Aquele sapo é um verdadeiro gênio. Sabe como aquela ilha é única, em constante mutação. Sempre aparecendo formações cristalinas, fragmentos da ilha se fundindo, dividindo lentamente a deriva, unidos por algumas ameaças invisíveis. O professor Calaveras está convencido que essas mudanças não são aleatórias, mas sim representativas da natureza viva das ilhas. Ele observou que determinadas mudanças no Nexus acontecem depois, ou por vezes antes, de uma agitação na outra ilha. Deslizamento de testes, terremotos cheias. Os Nexus parecem repercutir esses eventos. Talvez as ilhas sejam uma mente colmeia e o Nexus seja o cérebro. De qualquer forma, estou financiando um observatório científico permanente no Nexus. Ele atrairá as mentes mais fantásticas do Império com o professor Calaveras na liderança. Prevejo uma era fantástica de luz para o Império. Com amor, pai. Beleza.
Was that your shield?
Travou. Opa. Energia não. Caralho, isso não anda comigo.
Those flames really bring out your eyes.
Ô, filha da puta. Ah! Tô usando muito mal. Nossa. Atravessar. Eu que tô aqui. Dois. Meu Deus. Agonia.
Bernardo, smash!
There was something sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time.
Era pra eu vir pra cá. Pra aqui. Eu não posso pular.
What's behind door number 2?
Ele vai olhar pra lá, por baixo, ele tá olhando pra lá.
You almost never saw wild gogglers together like this. The toads had to train them not to peck each other to death. These had to be imperial gogglers. That meant ravens were up ahead. The platform used a hybrid propulsion system fueled by anti-gravity and wishful thinking.
Então, pra você já vai estar.
Could be the new aerobics craze. Am I right?
Caçador de tesouros.
The stone hadn't lied about what it could do for him. With each raven he cut down, he felt a jolt of power flowing into his arm. "You're weak," whispered the stone. "The core will kill you." Are you afraid of it? No, don't be ridiculous. It chuckled. But it's unstable. It will poison you so much as carry it, and if you try to use it, it will explode catastrophically. Bernardo did not trust rocks that talked in his head. He went onwards. Bye-bye, life, he thought. Hello, emptiness.
Você pegou em mim? Merda. Eu puxei, eu tenho que vir lá pra cá. Ah, eu já tinha passado por mim. Caralho, morri aqui demais.
Sparkly, thought Bernardo.
Tem que vir pra cá. Ah, tá, começo.
Once you try it, you're hooked.
Não. Ah. Velocidade de ataque. Era boa a velocidade de ataque.
Of course there was a puzzle. You couldn't expect the transcendent emperor to bury a god's eye in a leather sack where anyone could pick it up.
Ah, esse é o puzzle, beleza. Deixa eu voltar. Meu Deus. Bem difícil mesmo. Realmente.
This couldn't be good for global warming.
Ah, então tem fim. Vai. Vou botar mais vida, né? Depois eu faço isso. Foda, posso saber. Explodiu. Não quero pra você. Tá.
As he approached the core, the stone became hysterical. He had a sudden vision of plunging his gauntlet into the core and dying in anguish. That wasn't his vision, was it? The stone had sent him its darkest fears, hadn't it? He had a sudden impulse to do exactly that. He raised his right fist and plunged it into the core. There was a rush of light. He thought he could hear the stone screaming. And then he passed out. When Ronaldo came to, the core was gone. But the Iblis stone was no longer black, but glowing with a blue light. And it was silent. "I can't hear you," he sang out. And "You?" It didn't answer. "Ha!" he said. He had defeated the demonic gem with the power of his mind. He felt invincible. It was time to attack the Imperial outpost on the Nexus. Take the battle to the enemy. But among the huge crystals, there was also an observatory. A wise man would probably ask the scientists exactly what he had first. How wise was he?
Não, pera aí, mas... Mano, de novo, velho, mas...
As the
Claro.
Farfarer made its way toward the Nexus,
Só pra ter
Renato
certeza,
watched
eu
sparks
já
fly
fiz
out of the
essa
core.
coisa, eu faço essa merda
The
de novo.
Emberstone sucked them in hungrily. You'd think the stone would want this kind of power, wouldn't it? Thought Renato. Well, the scientists would explain it all. This time, Renato was sure he'd figured out how to use the core safely.
Tu tem Scrapper ali, eu quero saber do Scrapper. Peguei a pedra de Iblis.
See? He'd trusted his gut, and it had worked out. That's what it meant to be a hero. To ignore the naysayers and the odd-makers, and do what you knew was right, and have it turn out to be the right thing. He wasn't worried. Once he got to the observatory, the scientist toads could explain it. Then he could carry the war into the enemy's camp and destroy them all. Oh dear, he was getting a little bloodthirsty, wasn't he? Renato had been the terror of the
Tô ficando
sandcastles when he
sanguinário.
was too...
Ah, meu Deus. Se tô ficando sanguinário, fodeu. Aí vai ser alguma coisa sobre a pedra, fazendo efeito sobre mim. Primeiro.
The new pathway made Renato curious. Come over here.
Eu perdi vida.
This stone was incredibly valuable. Renato could sense it. Also, it still had its price tag.
Beleza. Nessa aula aprendemos o Evangelho do Imperador Transcendente e a última divindade transpassada dos céus. Esses seriam os deuses antigos, malvados no sucededor do tempo. Mas será que um homem, por mais divino que seja, poderia criar algo complexo quanto o tempo? Tem uma teoria, eu acredito que o tempo é um sintoma e não um dom. Estou convencido que uma escala cósmica seja um movimento de pêndulo entre a ordem e o caos. O Imperador Transcendente acabou com o caos e começou a era que vivemos, uma era de causa e efeito, de fato e lógica. O tempo é meramente a trama sobre a qual estas leis se manifestam, é a base da companhia da ordem, a entropia. Mas, na era do caos, os deuses antigos reinam, a buguei. Os deuses antigos reinam, a percepção tem mais peso do que os fatos. As emoções conseguem moldar mundos e o tempo para de existir. A era da ordem está terminando, estou simplesmente evitando o inevitável. A entropia foi quebrada, o destino foi violado. O final do tempo vem aí e eu devo abraçá-lo. Diário Secreto do Imperador Zengrin terceiro. Ali, isso daqui é uma hora.
Don't look down, he thought.
Ah. Aí, tem que levar. É, eu posso usar qualquer espada aqui. É, eu cliquei X, porra. Uau.
Bernardo had never felt better in his life. Normally, a battle would wear him down and he would need a night's sleep. Now he felt like he could go all night and all day. He felt like people were cheering him on and he could practically hear their applause as he slew one raven after another.
Meu Deus. Tão psicopata, velho. Eu acho que... Ah, pera, teve feito merda. Não vai adiantar. É. Eu tô ficando com vontade de matar. Meu otário. Meu Deus, que merda, velho.
The Imperial fleet was closing in on the rebels, forcing them to come out and fight. Bernardo was itching to bring the fight to the enemy. He had to remind himself not to be too reckless.
Que é isso, mano? Mano. Primeiro que... Ah, porra, bem... Caralho, muito melhor. Vou trocar de coisa aqui rapidão, botar nessa daqui. Quero que eu usar essa aqui. Pode ser, mano. Posso continuar com ela. Já tenho a câmera de escudo, já tô usando. Ele não tanto. Oh. Útil. Prefiro essa do que a outra lá. Quando eu matar o cara. É, eu mato o cara e pego de... Cadê essa aqui? Resistência elementar. Se eu tomar dano do feitiço, eu curo com a espada de vento. De boa. Queria ali.
These platforms are great. Bernardo wanted one for his house.
Ah, porra. Olha o time dessa merda.
Energy steals.
Porra!
Easy to dodge, but boy do they sting if you didn't pay attention.
Ah, não. Ah, não. Olha isso, bem melhor.
once,
faltam 4
he found a
milhões.
Superman issue #1 in mint condition in a jar he'd broken. He planned to keep breaking things until he had the whole series.
Meu Deus. O fone tá errado, peraí. Voltou normal. Meu Deus.
The Toads at the observatory measured the stone with their occult devices. I fed it the core of Sky River, explained Renato. No more TV blood and souls.
But the core is not an unlimited energy source,
said one Toad. Another said,
there's a feedback loop, you see, which could overload the stone.
The stone doesn't actually feed on souls,
claimed a third.
but on pain of killing another sentient being. If you can truly be at peace with yourself, it would not overload.
This was all very confusing. At peace. Yes, the mountains were peaceful and quiet, but he now had the power to turn the tides. He should report to the Rebellion Council and prepare for the decisive battle.
Ai, que preguiça. Tá, em paz, sim, pode fazer. Tá, beleza, então. Meu Deus, que agonia. Tá, eu tenho que salvar a rebelião enquanto ainda a rebelião existe. Ou eu deixo a rebelião toda, meu grupo inteiro morrer, e depois eu encontro paz, pra não dar merda e eu ser consumido. Ou eu salvo todo mundo e deixo a escuridão me consumir. Foda-se.
Renato couldn't make sense of
Salvar todo
anything the
mundo.
Toads said, and listening to them argue made him restless. The Iblis Stone had made him a power in his own right. The core had kicked the Iblis Stone out of his head by filling it with more power than it could eat. It was time to meet the leadership of the rebellion. It was time to go to the ruins, where they had hidden their secret base.
Eu vou salvar a rebelião, me faz. Isso é mais uma história, depois eu ajeito de novo. Faço.
He was ready for anything the Ravens could throw at him.
Ah, meu Deus.
His sword felt ready too. It seemed to know what he wanted most.
Um lado tá mais alto que o outro. Ah, tá tudo enrolado, peraí. Ainda tá fazendo barulho, caralho.
When Renato went to the china shop, for some reason the owner was always nervous.
Ah, não quero pegar mal. Ai, caralho.
He had all the ingredients for a pretty nifty sword.
posso fazer antes, tá? Eu posso fazer. Não, deixa eu fazer. Caralho. Meu Deus, olha o bagulho caiu.
Building these platforms was so expensive, they'd run out of budget for guardrails.
Não, noite. Nossa. Eu posso correr mais rápido sobre o meu desse. Que é isso? Qual eu vou comprar?
You know nothing, Jon Snow. This one looked familiar. Had he lost this one in a card game? Welcome back, he thought.
Posso ir por aqui ou ir por aqui não. Nossa, pai.
This was almost fun. Pain of killing another sentient being? What was that dude talking about anyway? He felt no pain, only pleasure as each filthy raven fell by his sword and the stone glowed brighter and brighter. And all the while, those voices were cheering him on, like he was in the arena, winning bout after bout.
Não, tô maluco. Não, acertando não, aí resolve.
Didn't your mother tell you it's rude to stare? Snapped Renato, a little smug. Long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good.
Explode ele. Aí,
If only
Pode.
he had some way to break the ice. Or convince us he was a friend.
Não, porque eu ataquei ele de novo. Não, tô medando. Tá, tem que ser assim. Muito bom, velho. Meu Deus. Caralho. Poderia ir pra ali, mas não.
That is a very cool sword, thought Renara. No, seriously. He couldn't feel his paw anymore. He slew and slew across the ruins and into the labyrinth that hid the secret rebel base. He was surprised not to see any defenders or even any of the council toads. When he reached the council chambers, there were still no toads, only filthy ravens. Stop him! He's gone mad! One raven shouted until he had hacked them all
Meu,
down.
tava vendo os corvos e não era
Couldn't see
corvo.
toad anywhere. No doubt they'd all been taken prisoner. So it was up to him to take revenge upon the Imperial fleet.
But where had they taken the council? It couldn't be good that the Empire had not only found the secret rebel base, but killed or captured everyone there. No matter. He was on a roll. He headed full speed towards the Imperial fleet. He would be the fox who took down 100 warships. He charged.
Meu, pera, não. Pera, os caras capturaram mesmo o conselho ou eu achei que era o conselho, mas não era o conselho? Oh, pera.
The
Não,
Imperial
eu achei
fleet
que era
was
corvo sendo esse
huge and
corvo.
deadly, but he was deadlier.
The crowd was cheering him on. He could practically hear it. Renardo, the hero of the rebellion.
Meu amigo, eu tô maluco, velho. Ah, não. Ah, agora já tô aqui, agora foda-se, agora eu vou matar todo mundo, mano. Não, eu acho que eu vou botar um cabra de escuro, eu gosto da faca. Tá com mais faz. Não? Tá bom. Agora eu preciso pra poder upar. Se do vento eu tenho, certinho, eu preciso de minério. Preciso de minério também, tá de boa. Meu Deus.
Sorry, mustache, thought Renardo.
Da última vez eu não podia vir pra cá, dessa vez eu pude. Mano, ah não. Eu acho que eu matei um monte de corvo, mas não era corvo na verdade. Na verdade era tipo meus amigos da rebelião, só que eu tô maluco e tô achando que todo mundo é inimigo. Aí eu vi eles como se fosse corvo. Eu acho que foi isso. Ah, não sei qual foi, né? Preciso de... Ah. Tá, então.
Haven't you always wanted to do that?
Tá bom assim. Ah, eu acho. Mais vida, mano. Tá de boa. Corre mais rápido, mano. Eu nem ganho mais bagulho. Que bagulho isso, meu Deus. Inferno. Meu Deus.
As he slew his way across the fleet, Renato thought he could hear a small voice whispering in his ear. "Look at your gauntlet, you idiot," it said.
Oh, for heaven's sake, he thought. Can't I be alone in my own head? Look at the stone. I'm busy, he told the voice. Talk later. Then it will be too late, cried the voice. Don't be so bloody thick. Piss off, he told the voice and kept up his slaying.
Não vou então. Eu vou ter que continuar, né? Meu Deus. Eu nunca consigo. Vai. Tô maluco.
That was always a rush.
Vocês morreu junto. Não paga vida mais não.
Snack time, boys! Go on the lead, Raven.
Eu tô amarrado matando a galera muito rápido, tô muito forte. Essa pedra é legal pra jogar mais. Agora. Acho que agora, né? Uma batalha depois eu mato todo mundo. Não. Dessa vez eu posso subir aqui.
Soon he'd confront the Emperor. Funny that this whole war had come about because the Emperor feared
Mas não
death.
poder subir.
And now it was coming for him. There was some sort of lesson there, wasn't there?
Eu ataquei essa porra. Cadê um cara com escudo? Quero saber. Aqui. Vem me atacar aqui, vem me atacar aqui. Foi. Eu vou por aí.
There was the Emperor. Renato cut down his elite guard. The exalted Toad cowered fearfully. He had sought to evade death and only made death come to him faster. Renato savored the moment. And then, too quick, it was over. He stood over the dead Emperor.
Death to tyranny, he shouted. Go, House, go! Zenobia stepped out of the shadows. You have to stop, she said. You've killed everyone. Our ravens, your rebels. You murdered the whole rebel council. What? Oh, the ravens killed the council. You big idiot. They don't even know what the secret base is. Shouted Lapino, who was with her for some reason. Look at the stone, said Zenobia. It was black as night. Blacker. But I fed it the core, said Renato. It was glowing. Well, who needs a core? He said, and he attacked. Zenobia conjured her best, and Lapino hopped around like a mad rabbit, but he killed them both easily. I am unstoppable, he orated at the blood-soaked walls. I alone shall be emperor. The tiny voice inside him screamed, that doesn't even sound like you big
Fanny? The stone has stolen your mind. But he ignored it. Who listens to voices in their heads anyway? Madmen, that's who. And just like that, he was alive again. And back on the Farfarer, still fleeing burning Ubar. The book was still open before him. So, the book was a portal. It took you to the future, when your destinies would branch. He had failed and died 3 times, but he'd learned another true thing. The Iblis Stone was evil. It would try to corrupt anyone who used it.
Mas eu já fiz 3, eu já fiz 3, só tinha 3 opções, já fiz as 3. Ah, parece uma 4 opções, não é possível.
He could feel it. He just had to keep running the path of destinies. With that, the book fluttered back to the beginning, and he fell into it. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced.
No.
Bernardo knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis Stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact.
Meu Deus.
It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it. To take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens?
Pera, buguei. Não, deserto não. Mano, mas o Lapino, ele tava... eu vou com o Lapino.
Ah, Lapino. Apparently, the Mad Rabbit had sold a Pegasus that he did not exactly own. Lapino always wiggled out of trouble, given time. But he was out of time. Lapino's frantic message said that the Ravens were going to kill him for being a rebel
eu vou pegar a mina e vou levar ela pro bagulho.
And he had a clever plan. If the fleet reached him first, they'd string him up for that. Never mind the winged horse. Or so Lapino had told him over the far speaker anyway. Lapino had apparently managed to confuse the judge by arguing that he hadn't actually stolen the winged horse. He'd only sold it. But wait, where was the prison? The village was empty. Had everybody fled the Ravens?
Mano, que eu faço daqui? Eu que tava lá em cima. O cara foi embora pra cima. Não tem como ir embora, né? Eu tenho. Ah, não tem. Tá, beleza. Esse aqui... Mano. Beleza, então. Tá ferrado. Mano, meu Deus. Joguei pra lá, joguei pra cá. Bate nesse. Joguei pra cá. Meu Deus, que merda que eu fiz aí. Não.
Bernardo had been here, at this exact place, at this exact time. This time, there were so many more ravens.
Realmente.
The mysterious sword from the east made you so fast you could catch a fly with your chopsticks. If that's what you really wanted.
Eu posso vir pra aqui agora.
Renato thought of the Iblis stone and shivered. He had no business messing with ancient, cruel artifacts. What he needed was his friends around him. Clear eyes, full hearts. Can't lose.
Caralho, que jogada. Eu peguei um, joguei no outro e acabou tudo.
Renato had once invested in a jewel store, but it lost money. Someone kept robbing it. Twist. It was him.
Meu Deus. Meu Deus. Eu não... Acertei. Posso entrar aqui? Não. Pego ele, eu pego a Zenobia, lavo com os carregadores. Que... Meu Deus, quase morri. Não sabia que tinha um cara aqui.
These were really nice chests. You should take one home, we thought.
Beleza. Ah. Quanto caminho eu posso ir? Carrega. Beleza.
Ah, the road less traveled, thought Renato. How intriguing.
Amei. Esse de matar essas três faz o quê? Tá, não é por ali, mas... Tá por onde vai essa bosta? Não lembro. Que volta pro caminho que eu vim, né? Ah, eu posso seguir a estrada. Nossa. Por ali... É por aqui, beleza. Deixa eu ver o negócio. Pra cá o negócio lá, beleza. Cá o altar. Beleza. Eu sei. Ai, ai. Peraí. Deixa eu estranho.
moving. If they got to Lupino first, they'd eat him for breakfast. Or a snack. Ravens weren't picky. If they got hungry, they sometimes forgot to interrogate their prisoners. Even top spies like Lupino. Well, unless he really was a traitor, obviously. Then they'd probably pin a medal on his chest.
Pá, mas eu fico lembrando dos bagulhos das verdades, beleza. O cara é Zenobia. É do pai, beleza, vai. Nada vestir, Rogério, novos amigos, com paz que estão na mesma. Tenho muito tempo para dedicar ao meu hobby social. Tenho estado colaborando com o professor Calaveira e sua equipe especialista para investigar a natureza das ilhas. O meu sexto sentido diz que as ilhas estão vivas. Acho que é por eles estão rodada própria. Tá me ouvindo, filho? Nosso mundo pode estar pode ser mais do que massas de tons de rochas e águas. O professor Calaveira e seus colaboradores fizeram medições e as ilhas estão à deriva, envoltas por um céu infinito e é difícil perceber, mas por meio de medições minuciosas do vento, por longos períodos de tempo, eles estão certos que as ilhas estão se movendo para o oeste. Mas para onde vão elas? Podem levar séculos, milênios até chegar ao destino. Essa estranha ideia que se sente por uma espécie de rebanho estiverem deliberadamente procurando outro rebanho de ilhas. Você está imaginando novas ilhas com seus próprios habitantes. Mas talvez não estejamos sozinhos. Se ao menos eu conseguisse viver até essa época para testemunhar o acontecimento com amor, pai. Tá, beleza. Poderia deixar o imperador vivo, né, também.
Renato remembered when he'd first stolen one of these. Good times. Dirty and bloody, Renato finally reached Lupino. The rabbit was practicing his shuffle. Renato recognized the cards. It was Lupino's favorite deck. Oh, I thought you were in danger. I am. The ravens are coming. Oh, the prison thing. Right, yeah, see, this guard owed me 53 ducats, so we made a deal. They're very reasonable people, actually, for weasels. Now, I got a brilliant plan to kidnap Zenobia. We capture Zenobia, we find out what she knows, and that's the whole war right there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Capture the Emperor's greatest general, who also happened to be a deadly sorcerer, and oh, his only daughter? That would be worth it. On the other hand, he could still get to the core of the Sky Ripper, even if he couldn't get the whole thing. It must have great power. Zenobia wasn't just the Emperor's daughter, of course. She'd been Renato's best friend.
Quero até pular, mano, já sei esse bagulho.
The city was already under Zenobia's control. To admire her efficiency, Renato shivered at the thought of Zenobia at the mercy of the interrogators. Could he really turn her over to them? But this was war. It wasn't meant to be pretty. This chest made music when you opened it. Too bad it was Muzak.
Ah, ali tem baú, tem televisão.
dead, and I'd have thought.
Ah, tá.
With materials like this, he could probably make a really nice pair of barbecue tongs. Or even a sword.
Ah, né? Tá. É. Ai, ai.
Bernardo hoped his mother wasn't watching.
Quase construindo com a espada, quase construindo essa também, mas acho que vou construir essa aqui também. É, eu tô usando mais essa mesmo.
I wonder what happens if I go that way.
Ou temos alguma coisa para comprar?
The right jewel could really give you an edge. The wrong, well, it still looked pretty, didn't it?
Com quantos bagulhos? Não.
Why was Lupino urging him to capture Zenobia? Obviously it was a trap. But you never knew how Lupino thought. Sometimes his plans were so convoluted they did the exact opposite to what Lupino wanted. And there must be some way to play around
Ah,
that,
então
I
é isso que eu
thought.
tô pensando. Mas ao contrário que ele mandou. Poderia não usar o... Mas eu quero aquela porta, meu Deus. Mas como eu quero aquela porta? Por que, jogo? Pra que fazer isso? Oh, da última vez a pessoa podia entrar, velho. Eu acho. Ou não. Ah não, podia não. Tá por aqui mesmo, não. Ah não, não, podia ser. Vira logo.
Anyone ever tell you you have a lovely eye? No?
Caralho. Nem foi porque eu queria. Meu Deus. Arrombado. Ei! Ah!
There were still so many games to play, Renato thought as he died.
Não. Eu só pulo tudo, velho. Aí nenhum lugar tem aquela porra.
So, what's this plan of yours?
Use me as bait, said Lupino. And he outlined a slightly complicated plan that involved geese, a net, setting the Farfarer a little bit on fire, Lupino dressing as an old blind toad, and Renato hiding inside a monstrous watermelon. What could possibly go wrong? Thought Renato.
Ele acabou de falar aqui uns bagulho. Se a gente pensa que ele tá traindo a gente, beleza? Se ele tá traindo a gente, que vai fazer esse plano pra dar merda. Só que da última vez deu certo, então não pode usar isso como. Como ele vai dar certo, então a gente usa pra dar certo e.
As he ran to go set up his marvelous plan. Ooh, a workbench. Did he have any jewels he hadn't tried out? He had.
Pra tirar esse bagulho do 5%, né? Não tá mudando muito não. Que é esse? Porra. Não, aqui não. Não é mais fácil esse aqui, né? É melhorzinho. Ai.
He hadn't noticed that path before.
Cara Zenobo, enquanto lê esta carta você está trancado em seu quarto, pronto para passar a última noite de... Antes de... Bem, você sabe. Não vou pedir... Ah, eu quero. Tá, não vou pedir perdão, você é orgulhoso demais para me perdoar. Também sei que você não resistiria a ler atentamente. Você é uma gata. Tá. Por mais que tenha tentado educar você como um sapo com um jeito, eu juro pra você que você precisa acreditar em mim. Eu não planejei nada disso quando eu adotei você. Você sempre foi minha gatinha especial. É por isso que estou escrevendo isso pra você agora com semanas de antecedência. Sei que não terei coragem pra fazê-lo na noite do sacrifício que, se pensar em você como minha filha, talvez mude de ideia. Você deve pensar que sou egoísta, e sim, eu sou egoísta. Um pobre sapinho com medo de morrer. Mas o que eu estou fazendo acabará por servir um bem maior. Quero poder, quero tudo. E por isso nada me deterá. Paz para sempre. Mesmo me odiando neste momento, você consegue respeitar isso. Você tem que respeitar. É o único jeito de conseguir perdoar a mim pra fazer isso pra você. Sentirei sua falta para sempre. Amanhã tente não fazer um escândalo, todo mundo estará enxergando. Ainda com amor, pai. Que sacrifício? Que sacrifício? Meu Deus, já ia embora.
This jewel was more than sparkly. It had arcane power and an engraving. To Cindy.
Então. Energia da matança. Pera, a energia da espada é bom, mano. Vou tirar isso aqui, mano. Eu tomo menos dano. É que se eu usar pra tomar menos dano, eu posso botar o bagulho de crítico. Ah, eu tomo menos dano. Não, mas é bom recuperar, vai coisa. Vou recuperar por outra forma rápida. Energia da matança.
He wasn't that good. Yet.
vir pra cá, né? Tá, agora.
Renato felt dubious about the whole plan. With every step, he was waiting for it all to go horribly wrong. But against all odds, Peppino's idiotic plan worked. Zenobia's ravens ran off after the geese, the net dropped, and Renato jumped out of the watermelon and put his sword to Zenobia's throat.
Renato, she said. Are those new scars? They look good on you. You never returned my velvet jacket. It was my favorite. You look stupid in velvet. Oh, what does an imperial princess know about style? Oh, get a room, you two, said Latino.
But the fleet was coming on fast, so they put Zenobia on the Farfarer and took her east, over the Nexus.
She'd vanished from Swordfu School, from his life, without even saying goodbye. Without ever telling him she was the Emperor's adopted daughter. Ah, Lapina was right, Renato thought reluctantly. She knows things. She recognized his look. You're taking me to the interrogators, aren't you? She said, wide-eyed. And then she jumped, with horror. Renato saw Zenobia plummeting. Then he saw the Nexus below them. Cats always land on their feet. Ah, she'll head for the Imperial outpost, yelled Peppino. You have to catch her. Cats can run faster, but foxes can run longer. If he ran, he could head her off before she reached her minions at the outpost. Well, he did love a good chase.
He wished there were more pylons he could use the hook on. They really needed to construct additional pylons. Practically sure he'd find something useful in one of these things.
Ficou tonto. Ficou no pau.
Sense the jewel's power. He had a feeling they were going to be great friends.
Muito bom.
He was closing on her. He could smell her fear. He tried not to think about the interrogators at the secret base. What did they do to her? Maybe it didn't have to end that way. Maybe he could talk to her. But, after all, There were worse things the
Provavelmente
Imperials
vai ser
had done to friends of
traído
his.
se eu levar ele a carregadores. Eu vou tomar no. Nossa, eu vou me ferrar muito, mas eu tô nem aí, vou levar. Eu que vou me ferrar, eu acho. Mas. Será? Ali. Tá antes. Nossa.
Bernardo reached the outpost. The Imperials there were no match for him. Soon after, Zenobia limped up the path. When she realized he was already in front of her, she didn't even try to run. Oh, you left without saying goodbye. Again, he said, please. I'm enjoying this a little too much, she said, shaken. Ah, spare us the chit-chat, would you? Said Lapino as he shackled her hands so she couldn't throw spells. She knows all his plans. All the way back to the Farfarer, Lapino nagged Renato about how the interrogators would pry all the intel out of Zenobia. How that would turn the tides in the imminent battle. All they had to do was take her to the rebel secret base. Renato didn't like to think about what the interrogators would do to her. Couldn't he just talk to her?
Fazer o que eu não quero dessa coisa.
Renato could see ravens everywhere, searching for the rebel base. They'd have to hide the Farfarer or go on foot. What if we get separated? Asked Lapino, for once thinking ahead. I'll show you a map to the base. Renato told Lapino. Renato, don't do this, said Zenobia. We were friends once. We... Shut it, witch, or I'll shackle your mouth too, said Lapino. See? Renato thought. There was no way Lapino was working for the Empire. He really hated Zenobia. And then, a few moments later, they touched down. As Lapino pulled Zenobia off the Farfarer, Renato readied himself for the battle ahead. I'm sorry I nicked your jacket, she said. It's just... It's stupid, but... It smelled like you. What? He said, confused. Then... Why didn't you ride? Why didn't you first speak? Oh, save the romantic nostalgia. Let's go! Shrieked Lapino. So Renato launched himself down the path to the secret base.
Ah, meu Deus. Cara, isso. Depois eu pego.
Well, they really needed to redecorate anyway.
Meu Deus. Não, não. Ah. Pronto.
He missed her. And Zenobia. Hypatia. The kid's mother. Renato had never thought he'd date a librarian. He'd always figured himself for the barmaid type. But then,
He'd never figured the library of Ubar would have comic books, or that Hypatia would know anything about them. He missed her.
Ai, mano, faltam 7, velho.
Was walking Zenobia to the rebel's secret base, where she would be interrogated. So, why was he feeling so scared?
Não sei.
What was really fun was hooking yourself onto a moving ship.
Por onde é mesmo, vai? Pera, não lembro mais pra onde é. Se é por aqui. Não, aqui tem um baú. Ó, vai pra cá, pega o bloco. Aqui trava. Nossa, só que. Nossa, pera aí. Aí.
Now it slice the wings off a fly in the air. Not that he would. It's
aumenta tanto assim agora? Será? É, realmente, aumenta bastante. Ah, meu Deus. Agora ele foi. Ó, vai.
You never knew where the road would take you, thought Renato.
Ah, eu fiz aqui depois. Uma baúzona. É, verdade.
For a moment, Renato wished that somebody had been watching. There was an inscription. Praised the sun. This chest contained blank passports from 15 countries. And something useful.
They caught their breath. It's beautiful, she said, looking at the ruins. This used to be the library of Ubar, he said. Before your father's ravens smashed it. Do we have to talk politics? She asked. That's not how I want to remember you, she said with an odd, wistful look at her face. She was as beautiful as she'd ever been, and as brave. Peppino huffed. They got back on the trail.
Essa mensagem, porra. Que? Beleza. Punam, aterrorizem e humilhem. As massas. As massas ergueram seus punhos, liderados por um grupo de nobres com ambição demais. Será que trata de inveja pelo fato de o poder que eu procuro ser algo que eles querem para eles? Serão apenas criminosos que querem nos roubar. Só existe uma punição para um crime desses, a morte. Tomem os líderes como exemplo, executem qualquer um que se atreva a segui-los. Ou será medo de que os sacrifícios que tenham feito os atinjam? Será isto uma guerra pela sobrevivência? Mostrem-nos o verdadeiro significado de medo. Ataquem-nos rápido e sem piedade, façam-nos sofrer, queimem tudo aquilo que lhes é querido. Ou será orgulho pelo fato de o significado do sacrifício jamais serem compreendidos por nós? Eles querem inclusão, influenciar as minhas decisões. Esta arrogância não pode ser tolerada. Levem que se render para a mina de sal. Deixem seus pulmões se encherem com poeira corrosiva. Deixem-nos se atraiçoarem uns aos outros por resto de comidas. Deixem seus filhos enxergarem enquanto eles se tornam selvagens. Acabe com a rebelião sem piedade. Punam, terrorizem o mínimo. Caralho! Sinto uma arrependimento. Porra, tá aqui. Seus pulmões se encherem de poeira corrosiva.
Not quite enough, thought Renato.
Senta com 18 minutos. Ah, mano. Pra cá. Aí,
Renato felt ready to take on new powers.
yeah.
You blinked.
Pera, isso não é um negócio que eu já queria entrar na sala de ajudar.
The long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good.
tô dormindo. Eu cliquei. Beleza, agora. Não, tem que ser. Meu Deus. Ah, alho. Quase morri. Não, agora não. Espera aí.
There was a pleasant breeze coming through that door. Had it been closed before?
Ah, já peguei todos os bagulhos, velho. Todas as. Já é? Aí já.
As they made their way to the secret rebel base, Renata felt strange. Zenobia was his prisoner, yet somehow she felt more like an old friend. He wanted to tell her all his secrets, but suddenly the ruins lit up with thousands of fireworks. There was a thunderous roar and dust rose. The caves were collapsing.
The caves!
You've been playing me? Renato said, and he stared at Zenobia.
I'm sorry, she said, and she seemed almost embarrassed. Then everything went dark.
When Renato came to, he had a terrible headache. Also, Zenobia's sword was at his throat. And her shackles were gone. So was Lapino. The terrible thing is, he said, I really have missed you. Now that we've destroyed the rebellion, would you consider becoming an advisor to the Emperor's daughter?
I'm no one's servant. Everybody serves. Even if it's only destiny. I like to choose my own destinies, he said.
The whole point of a destiny is you can't choose. Oh, never mind, she said. Look, if I see you again, I'll have to kill you.
He watched her ship soar away. He would see her again, he decided. Even if he had to fight his way across the entire fleet.
Você seguiu o que o Lapino diz, dá merda. Se não seguir o que o Lapino diz, dá merda.
The Imperial fleet was cleaning up the few rebel remnants. For only a moment, he thought.
Mano, o Lapino dá merda de qualquer jeito, então. Se eu pegar o Lapino e decidir fazer o que normalmente eu faria, resgatar um velho amigo, mas depois não querer matar uma velha amiga, dá merda. Porque ele fica com raiva porque não é pra fazer aquilo, se taca, a gente cai lá embaixo do bagulho e dá uma merda do caralho. Aí a gente vem pra fazer a mesma coisa, uma batalha contra a frota. Aí quando chega no final, ela tá atrás de mim e ele me mata com a flechada pela frente. Ela disse que ele morreu, sendo que ele não morreu. Se eu vou com ele, eu morro. Então... Mas a última verdade tem a ver com a Zenobia, né? Tá, beleza, velho. É isso que eu queria. Ficar um inimigo a qualquer distância. Vai ser bom, eu acho. Minério, velho. Minério. Eu quero minério pelo menos. Caralho, não tem mais nada pra nenhum lugar pra eu ir. Ah, tá. Foi. Cadê?
shape, wasn't he? Renaro's arm was sore, his armor wet with raven blood. He was tired of death. But death was not yet tired of him. The rebels were losing. Badly. In some other universe, Renaro thought, he and Zenobia had left Swordfu School together, taken other names and sailed off into the mists. But not this Zenobia, and not him. For him, there was nothing to do but forge ahead. Kill the Emperor and end this.
Nossa, não, que merda. Vai. Só desvia de verdade, velho. Esquivei ainda, velho. Ah, não. Ah, beleza.
There was a sign. Take the goat across first.
Meu amigo. Ninguém. Meu Deus. Eu vou morrer assim.
Everybody knew you shouldn't trust a raven further than you could throw her. But you got that.
Meu amigo. Ah, eu tô quase morto. É muito rápido isso. Muita gente mandando mensagem. Peraí. Que mensagem que eu olhei, velho? Se foi adianta eu olhei, eu mandei mensagem. Tava dormindo, velho. Acabei pegando no sono. Tava cansado.
Soon he confronted the Emperor again. This time,
Acho que ninguém ia estar
he'd make an
acordado.
end of it. He'd
Todo
screwed up
mundo vai
last
mais
time.
tarde.
He had a good feeling about this time.
Acordei 5h30, velho. Eu nem avisei nada. Só entrei pra jogar de 7 horas. Fiz uma comidinha e jogar. É, Black começou só. Meu Deus. Deus, que preguiça. Vou dar outra mensagem, peraí. Quase derrubei meu tênis. Não. Ah, eu vi já. Eu acabei de olhar as mensagens.
At last, he reached the Emperor's ship.
Entra aí, Jeep. Bora jogar.
Zenobia was there.
Entra aí, eu tô a fim de jogar algum jogo.
Why'd you have to come?
Ou GTA, ou GTA, né? Só tem isso agora.
She said,
Entra aí.
guess I'm just serving my destiny. He shrugged. You don't even know what that word means. She said, do you ever wonder if things have been different all the time? She said, and drew her sword. In the end, Renato lay bleeding out on the deck. Zenobia sat by his side,
Eu morri.
upset. What are you so upset about? He asked. You wouldn't understand. Why? Why didn't you tell me you were going to leave school? I was afraid you'd convince me not to. I guess I'll have to buy you a drink in the halls of the Valiant then, he told her. And then he was gone.
Que amor.
Damn it. He lost again. And died. But there was burning Ubar behind him. He still had all his destinies ahead of him. But he'd learned another true thing. Zenobia still had feelings for him.
Tá, então agora eu libero tudo.
He knew enough now, he thought. All these truths tumbling around each other in his head. There must be a way to puzzle the pieces together. If he used everything he knew, he could discover a new path to destiny. The book's pages fluttered to the beginning once again. Faster than before, and he fell. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced.
Não.
Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it. To take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. And he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage.
Ah, significa que eu já fiz todos esses?
Renato finally realized that Lapino was a traitor to the cause. And maybe Renato could use that somehow.
Ah! Agora faz sentido.
Renato couldn't quite put his paw on when he'd realized Lapino was working for the Empire. He'd never exactly seen Lapino sending coded messages to the palace, but he was sure. The rabbit had been on too many disastrous missions where he was the only survivor, or where he accidentally missed getting on the boat that went down to the abyss in flames. If Renato could prevent Lapino from getting back to the fleet with all the intelligence he'd probably gathered, it might be worth the trip. How had they come to this? They'd been on so many adventures together. Lapino had talked Renato out of prison at least 4 times, and Renato had rescued Lapino from at least 2 lynch mobs. I need more materials, thought Renato.
resented him. Peppino was hilarious because he was so down on himself and everyone else. But behind the laugh, he wasn't a happy camper. Ooh, was this payback? Or did the Empire have his little white tail in a vice?
It was something he'd seen in a play once.
Pegar o máximo das pessoas, eu vou ultrapassar isso, cara. Ah, tá, subi aqui, peraí pro lado, tem um bagulho ali, continuar. Posso descer por aqui, dar no mesmo lugar.
Once, Renato had been to a dungeon where all the chests were locked. It was awful.
Ah, meu Deus. Dois pontos. Vamos tentar aqui. Passar movimento. Ah, atordou o cara. Meu.
This was way better than being able to shrink down to the size of an ant. What was that all about anyway?
Hey, I got this friend who's a swan. Could he join up? Disguise his feathers?
Já vou olhar com ele. Meu Deus! Tomando tudo. Não, cara, é possível. que esse Dex tá falando, velho? Você não dorme não. Meu Deus, velho. Bicho. Eu dormi, velho. Eu dormi antes de todo mundo, porra. Fui o primeiro a dormir do grupo, porra. Tá de 7 da tarde eu tava dormindo já, praticamente. Eu tava morrendo de sono, velho. Esqueci o play ligado, aí minha mãe me acordou, Bruno, desligar o videogame. Aí eu, meu Deus, tá bom. Aí ela, como é que desliga? Aí eu expliquei pra ela como desligava, ela desligou e eu voltei a dormir. Nossa, dormi demais. Primeiro a dormir. Mandou outra mensagem. Meu Deus, vamos ver se deve. Eu acordei de 5h30. Dex, velho, para de mandar mensagem, seu corno. Não, tô brincando. Mas prefiro ver sua live, mandar salve. Tá. Então, você tá tendo aula de educação física, seu Dex. Primeiro, terceiro ano. Terceiro ano de ensino médio. Quem tem aula de educação física? Me diga.
Two ideas went together somehow. And then it was gone again. Oh, damn ideas. They never stuck around.
É melhor do que qualquer aula, pô, cara. Tá doido. Que aula, velho? Tem minha live acontecendo, velho.
Maybe I should follow my nose.
Porra, eu te ensino a você fazer o que você se diverte. Você se diverte estudando? Aí eu não vou te ensinar a se divertir estudando, mas eu vou buguei. Te ensinar a se divertir jogando, porque eu sei jogar bem e você não. E aí? Como fica? Te ensinar a jogar. Você não sabe jogar. Muito mais legal jogar do que assistir aula. Por mais que seja mais importante assistir aula, mas é muito mais legal jogar. Venhamos e convenhamos. O cara dizendo, quando está correndo na academia. Ah, já li isso aqui. Coisa. Ai, velho.
A present for me?
Não, eu queria passar por isso. Tchau.
Bloody and exhausted, Renato finally reached the Pino. The rabbit was practicing shuffling his favorite deck. Now that he knew what the rabbit was, there are a few things about him that Renato didn't find so amusing anymore. You sent me an urgent message saying that you're in danger. Oh, I am. The ravens are coming. Now, I got a clever plan to kidnap Zenobia. Renato wanted to clap shackles on the rabbit and shout, "You're a traitor, and I'm not falling for it." But if there was one thing Renato was sure of, it was that the core of the Sky Ripper was dangerous mostly to its user. If he could put it in the Emperor's hands, old Lysengram III might blow himself and his fleet up with it. Yes, that was it. Felt like a real hero, brave and smart. He told the rabbit all about the Sky Ripper's God's Eye core. "I'll go get the core while you attack Zenobia," he told the rabbit. "But wait, I've an even better idea. I'll get the core and you attack Zenobia," said the rabbit. "Right, yeah, that is better," agreed Renato. Perfect. The traitor would make sure the Emperor got the core. Now Renato just needed the Emperor to use the core. If he could only get something that the Emperor wanted very badly. Zenobia, he could save her and bait the Emperor at the same time.
Mind blowing. Caralho.
Right. Now, all Renaro had to do was fight his way through Zenobia's invading troops, sneak onto her ship and into her bedroom, and kidnap her without any of her dozens of guards alerting her. Then, he would rely on her love for him to convince her how evil her father was, so she'd run away with him instead of going back to her father, who was going to blow himself up. It did sound a little risky. But Renaro had a feeling it would work out somehow. It always did.
Tá, beleza. Pra isso, vou pra cá, abre aqui, pegar um baúzinho ali. Cara, esse cara tá te ajudando?
This chest was really horrible. Get it?
Não vou voltar da próxima vez. Pode ser. Ah não, melhor. Tá quantos, olha? Mas falta pouquinho, daqui a pouco eu caio, né?
Or I could go that way, he thought.
Sedex, o que você tá fazendo na hora de fundo, Sedex? Se você nem estiver me escutando, óbvio, né? Provavelmente não tá. É, não tá. Mas começou em corro. Safado que botou pra aqui pra não vir pra cá. Pra usar só esse campo dele.
Gogglers. Renato hated dawdlers. It was almost impossible to sneak past them. If one didn't spot you, another one would.
Meu Deus, mas tinha muito mesmo, né? Quem disse que ele tava com raiva? Avalanca, por exemplo.
Who are you looking at? Oh, right. No one. Renato was halfway to Zenobia's encampment when Lupino showed up. He was disheveled and distraught.
They jumped us. I barely got away. Oh, they got the core.
Oh, it was all going according to plan, thought Renato. Now he just needed Zenobia on his side. Yes, that was even better. The Iblis Stone. Zenobia could get it. And then the Emperor would have to pursue them. Wait. No. The gem would corrupt anyone. Even her. That's it, he thought. Even Lupino. Even though Lupino was already a traitor. It would turn him against his secret master, the Emperor. He would try to make himself Emperor. And the Emperor would have to defend himself with the core. Boom. He was a super genius. This is terrible, Renato told the rabbit. If only I had gone for the Iblis Stone. But now it's lost in enemy territory. He handed Lupino a map. It gives the bearer so much power. We can only hope the Emperor never finds it. What was that? Said Lupino. I think someone's following us. I didn't hear anything. Rabbit ears. You go on ahead. I'll check it out. And with that, Lupino hopped off with the map.
Meu Deus, que filha da... Ah, mano. Acabou? Ah, começa. Ok. Fatiado. Deixa eu ler esse bagulho também. É sobre o quê? Aquelas nem quando você nessa casa estava trocando seu corpo. Ah, é sobre o negócio sacrifício lá. Já li também. Tem o upo depois, né? Vamos ver aqui. Não, pra vida. Ai. Não tem como subir pra cá. Só isso.
Renato slinked through Zenobia's ship, making no sound at all. She was curled up on her bed. He'd forgotten how beautiful she was, how sleek, how soft. He tapped her on the shoulder with his sword. She was made of smoke, and he noticed he had a very solid blade to his throat. Did you really think you could capture me? Purred a familiar voice. I just wanted to chat, said Renato. Did you ever wonder why the Emperor adopted you? He needs a sacrifice,
someone who truly loves him, to make a bargain with the lost gods. That's a vicious lie. He wants to bring them back. That's crazy. Why would anyone... They could make him immortal. An eater of souls. And with that, her eyes widened. She understood. Renato told her how he had rescued a priest whose order had been massacred. How he had slept in a burnt village. At midnight, the Emperor's victims had come to him in his dreams to tell him of the hideous eldritch rituals they'd been sacrificed in. He could still see those kittens and puppies. Their wide, sad eyes, their moist noses. You can't prove that. I've got a witness at the observatory.
Ah, meu Deus.
He couldn't tell her, not yet, why he was really here. He didn't want her to be anywhere near the fleet when her father blew himself and the Pino up. So he told her about how the Emperor's obscene rituals had raised ancient artifacts out of the land. How he'd followed the appalling trail of the hideous horrors His Majesty had perpetrated for the sake of his own immortality. Any of this ring a bell? He said. He told me it was all lies. You've always known when I was lying. I always hated that about you, said Renato. The rebellion had started after atrocities that the Empire hushed up. Renato had rescued a priest whose order had been massacred for one book. He had slept in a burnt village. Dead kittens and puppies had come to tell him what the Emperor had done to them. Renato had always wanted a flying carpet. This was more like a flying tabletop, but it would do.
Minério, 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 nenhum minério, minério, nenhum minério. Porra! Aí, porra, 2 minérios. Nossa, tô quase. Aqui. Pega isso aqui primeiro. Pronto, já posso fazer com o cara. Ó, a espada. Ó, a espada não, deixa ela tapada. Que tonto. Pronto, já não vou.
Surprisingly unwounded.
Na escola aprendemos o Evangelho do Imperador. Pegar esse negócio de guerra lá, cara, beleza. Cá.
Don't you think I'd know if my father started practicing black magic? Why? Would you join in? No. I'd destroy his books and I'd... Oh, God. Okay. You're not completely wrong. They've resurrected one of his victims. Well, look, I mean, look, it's not exactly alive, but it can talk. A true witness, she said.
Binário. Posso construir a espada, né? Ah, já podia.
You know, ore is pretty heavy to carry. You know what's not? A new sword.
Beleza.
Sword, a crafting bench, and loads of materials.
Espada nível máximo, caralho, tá maluco. Nível máximo, nível máximo, nível máximo. Caralho. Muito louco. Todo mundo tá no nível máximo, só eu que não tô no nível máximo. Falta de habilidade pra aprender.
If he was a weapons engineer, Renato would make the cannonballs go much faster. And fire randomly, obviously.
Ah, isso tudo. Tá usando o dash na hora.
Renato wondered if he could learn to cook this way. Probably not.
Foi. Vou pra mais minério, já tenho tudo que preciso. Mas vou ficar pegando.
Renato had heard stories
Só
of a
pega,
dungeon
vai.
where chests were filled with potions and weapons. Fairy tales.
Nossa. Tinha como fazer uma espada. Muito louco depois. Calma, já botei.
The observatory was a burning hulk. Dead scientists and black feathers everywhere. The Ravens had taken special care to burn the reanimated witness to cinders. Zenobia stared at the carnage. He didn't want me to hear the witness, did he? I guess not. What's your plan? She asked. So, Renato explained his brilliant gambit. Sending Lapino to get the Iblis Stone, become super powerful and corrupted.
Tô vendo? Bota isso, eu não consigo, fica caindo, vem aqui, vá.
Tá, deixa eu ver.
É isso que eu odeio na academia, por isso que eu não faço nada ali.
Bobby! Tudo bom, meu bebê? Que carinho, gente. Ai, ai. Sopra, faz barulho e... Bobby!
Provoke the Emperor into using the core against him, thus blowing up both of them, and hopefully the fleet too. Let me visit your council, she said, shaken. I want to help. Could he really trust her?
Vai, eu vou confiar. Se der merda, eu faço isso.
Done it. He'd made Zenobia see how evil her father really was.
Eu vou
He wished
vai.
she didn't
Se
feel
ela
this
estiver mentindo,
urge to join in the rebellion.
mas eu sabia que ela tem
After all, he'd
sentimento por
taken
mim.
care of the
Então...
Emperor, right? Yeah, but she'd always been conscientious like that. She told him she had to go somewhere first. So Renato gave her the location of the secret base, and they agreed to meet in the ruins. He had a very good feeling about this. What had Zenobia gone off to do? What was more important than meeting the rebel council? Had he made a mistake, sending her to the ruins? No. He knew they could trust each other. He could trust her because she never broke her word. And she could trust him because she could see right through him. Well, she'd probably be there well before him. She at least didn't have to fight her way through rainstorms of ravens.
Mano, vou direto, já peguei todas as
He could
espadas.
learn new skills. If only he'd take the time to figure out which.
Deve ser muito top. Ou posso pegar isso aqui? Ah, meu Deus do céu.
Cool.
Bem melhor.
Wish I could do that.
Pronto, beleza. Ah não, eu digo que não vou fazer os bagulho não, cara. Não consigo, velho. Eu preciso, não posso deixar nada pra trás. Tem algum tipo de problema com isso, não posso. Oh, quase. Não, né? Meu Deus. Meu Deus, nice. Tô tentando segurar o cara. Só isso, velho. Só segurar.
Who made all these ore chests anyway? You could have quite a business doing that.
Foi. Tem mais batalha.
This chest was filled with reprints of the entire Sandman series. Reprints? What was the point of collecting those? Ooh, and there was something else. As he came around the bend, there was Lupino, unconscious on the side of the path. And Renato could smell a familiar, sweet, smoky scent. Who? Zenobia. It had to be. She never used a combat spell when she could use drowsy gas. That meant she had the Iblis Stone. What would it do to her? She hated her father now. She'd kill him for sure. The Council wouldn't mind if she killed the Emperor, but murdering her father would destroy her. He had to get to whatever ledge she was on and talk her down from it. 2 eyes, good. 1 eye, dead.
Mano, o bagulho Deu dano do outro lado da parede. Oh. Meu Deus.
Long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good.
Por favor, vai matar todo mundo, velho.
Everyone in the council chamber was dead. Zenobia stood shivering in the courtyard.
Meu amigo.
Blood. Why? He managed. They started arguing with me. I lost my temper and I wanted their blood. Not me. The stone did. Why did you take it from Lupino? I had a plan. You had a stupid plan, she said. I'm going to go kill my father now. No, you can't. You'll just take his place. You'll become worse than him. Get out of my way, or I'll kill you too. You won't kill me, he said. And I won't let you kill the Emperor. Enraged, she raised the sword. You hate him too? He could sense the Iblis stone, yearning for his death. But she didn't strike. If you kill him, he'll destroy you. I know you. Shut up! She shouted, her sword trembling. I won't lose you again. Not for anything. Get away from me, he said, and he was very close. I can't lose you again. And he was in reach of her sword now. I hate him! I hate you too! I love you, he said for the very first time. And then she was weeping. He was holding her. The sword had dropped from her hand. He glanced at the Iblis stone. It was no longer the black of the void. It looked like coal. No. It glowed. Like a cinder. It was crackling, burning, crumbling into ashes. You've always loved me, haven't you? She said. She was weak. The stone had taken so much from her. Always, he said. She staggered as he helped her up. Let me take you away. Where? The island of Avalon. The sisters will heal you. He'll follow us. Then we need the Farfarer, the fastest ship in the Empire. The Empire had seized his ship. They'd have to take it back.
Ai, ai. Tá, então. Já tinha jogado esse jogo, mas nunca tinha zerado. Eu tinha achado no máximo 2 verdades. Eu tinha achado 2 verdades. Só que aí eu perdi todo o meu save. E dessa vez eu fiz tudo de uma vez. Tudo bem. Legal o jogo. O quê? Pera, isso eu não consigo, tem que olhar.
Renato had a feeling that was the back door to something. But what?
Então, ponto.
And there it was, his beautiful skycraft, the Farfarer. Though it fare very far indeed, beyond the Empire, beyond the reach of the Empire, to the mystical island of Avalon. He didn't know exactly where it was, but he knew he could find it. And they would find peace there. Second star on the right, and straight on till morning, laughed Zenobia. And they laughed together for the first time in a long time. Renato wondered if it wasn't cheaper to build bridges and stairs.
But... Parece muita gente. Ah!
But they did not go unnoticed. Scout ships lifted off, and a long lance of the Imperial flagship. Renato turned downwind to gain speed. The Raven ships could pursue, but they couldn't close. The Farspeaker croaked, "You return her and live! Go sacrifice yourself. yelled Renato.
Then you won't have her either.
On the flagship, the Emperor was readying some arcane weapon. It couldn't be. It was the core. A devastating beam lanced out of the flagship. Renato zigzagged wildly to keep the Farfair out of it. Now the Raven scout ships were closing the distance. And the beam was getting closer too. Then came a blinding flash. And the air was searingly hot all around him. There was a thunderous, deafening roar. He could smell burnt oak and burnt feathers and burnt flesh. But when he could hear and see again, they were alive and unhurt. And they were alone in the sky. Zenobia embraced him. They had done it. Through luck and through love, they had won the war. "Avalon, here we come," he said as he held her arms wide in the prow of the boat and let her feel its speed.
Maybe the real Avalon is wherever we're together, she said.
And so, after a bit of an argument, Renato and Zenobia went to one of the two Avalons. The one shrouded in mists. Or the one in their hearts. But which one they went to, I'll never tell.
Aê, eu acabei esse jogo.
He'd done it. He'd forged his own destiny. Well, he hadn't actually done it. But he knew what he would do. Renato smiled at the book. He practically wanted to kiss it. The kid's sacrifice hadn't been in vain. He'd saved the book and saved the world. Renato owed him and his mother so much. Renato lowered the mainsail and let the Farfarer shoot forward in the breeze. Second star to the right, and straight on till morning. This time, he would win.
Ah, eu zerei rapidinho, só precisa de 4 finais, nem precisa de mais. Ah, é isso. Foi legal. Julian Casey, que é esse cara, mano? Posso continuar com eles sempre ativos, é isso? Pera aí. Que eu morri. Que eu fiquei maluco. Matei o imperador. Encontrar a armadura, encontrar o núcleo. É, nesse cientista, horas. Ah, o que explode foi o primeiro que eu fiz, eu acho. Tá, a pena que eu trazendo, você tá bom. Meu Deus. Beleza. Tem muito mais história, velho. Podia fazer tudo, mas não. Pelo que eu vi, peraí.
The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas.
Beleza.
It was
Não,
time
tá
to
bom.
choose.
Tá bom.
The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer.
Eu achei
Pieces of
já.
the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Renato knew that using it could go catastrophically wrong. But he was sure he could figure out how to use it safely. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Iblis stone was hidden there. It was a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it. To take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lapino needed
Ah, mas
rescuing.
Deus, né?
Of course. Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. And he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage.
É, eu acho que eu não vou mais não. É isso. É isso. Acabei. Finalmente acabei. Falou. Não, peraí. Agora sim.